Hey guys, what's going on? This is Charles at Corona Geek, and I want to introduce you to a new series that we're going to be doing called Staff Conversations. Every Tuesday, we're going to bring a brand new conversation to you from one of the staff members at Corona Labs. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things move extremely fast, and we want to be able to have those types of intimate conversations with you so that you can understand kind of what's going on and things that are happening within the community. So we're going to interview, every Tuesday, we're going to interview a staff member, and we're going to talk about something that's going on, whether it's an upcoming change or some piece of technology that's being introduced into the SDK, or maybe just even something that already exists, some piece of functionality or some element that we want to bring in and talk about. And so we'll be talking with some of the engineers, we'll be talking with some of the senior management. All those types of things is all going to be wrapped up in this staff conversation. So joining us today, our very first guest is going to be David Rangel. I did an interview with him, more of a hangout conversation with him, where we talked about the recent announcement for Corona Starter and Corona Pro and all the changes that are going on there. And David did a great job of explaining everything and trying to clear up any kind of confusion that might have occurred during that announcement. So these things, like I said, are going to happen every Tuesday. It's going to be a regular thing, and we're going to try to bring in fresh topics and talk about things on a regular basis. So I think you're going to enjoy it, and so enjoy this first interview. All right, so David, tell me about the recent announcement for the changes at Corona Labs.
Sure. So we had this last week. We had some pretty big news. It does affect most of our subscribers one way or the other. There were two main aspects to it. We announced Corona SDK Starter, which is basically a new version of Corona, and the main thing there is it is absolutely free. I mean, just completely free, which is quite rare. There are other platforms that say they have a free tier, and it's not really free. If you want to do mobile, you have to pay. They have their own splash screens, which if you're pretty serious about your game or your apps, you don't want. So Corona SDK Starter is completely free. You don't have to pay us a cent. You can publish a fully featured app, no splash screen, no anything. And we think that's pretty great. There's a couple caveats, and we'll talk about that very clearly in a second. And then the other aspect of the announcement was Corona SDK Pro is going up in price today. Well, today, even now, until 2 weeks from now, it is $349. It will go up to $599 starting on May 1st. So those are the two big things, and we can talk about them in more detail in a second.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right, that makes sense. Yeah, I do have questions about all of that. So you say we can, with the free tier, you can do what?
With the free tier, you can do everything you can do with Corona today. In fact, everything you can do with Pro today, except for three things. You don't have access to daily builds, you don't have access to in-app purchases, and you don't have access to the analytics library. So it's those three things. Now, those three things are of different importance to different people. In-app purchases, many people rely on them. However, there are many apps, hundreds of thousands of apps, probably way more than half of the apps ever done with Corona that don't rely on in-app purchases. And so the vast majority of the apps that people have done with Corona, everything from indies to studios, they can do it now for free. That has not changed at all. That is the huge thing. Now, daily builds, yes, Starter does not have access to daily builds, but as people know, we put out public releases regularly. We're actually going to start doing that more regularly. We'll have a little more news on that in the next couple of weeks. And those are the main restrictions. It's just those three things, nothing else.
Okay. Before we had an unlimited free trial, so somebody could build their app and basically use the thing without having to pay anything. So why go free now?
Because even though there was a free trial, which actually was pretty nice, and a lot of people like that, you still had to pay us either $199 or $349 once you wanted to publish. And I think a lot of people that were just starting with apps or were just experimenting, sure, they could download for free and build for a while, but everyone knew, okay, eventually I'm going to have to pay. And that does add some friction. And it was our goal to make it as easy as possible for people to start developing mobile apps and participate in this whole huge thing that is going on nowadays. And there's no better price than free.
Okay.
So that's why. Now it is completely free.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, if in-app purchase is only for Pro, though, how are the starter group going to monetize their apps?
So there's several other ways of monetizing. In fact, it's the more traditional ways of monetizing in some ways. You can charge for your app up front. There's many people that have been successful with that. You can have ads in there. There's many people that are successful with that. There's a fact that it's not easy to monetize in the app stores nowadays. There's just too much going on, and in-app purchases is not a silver bullet. So if some people say, "Hey, I wanted to make the way I was going to make money, even though I don't have many downloads, was with in-app purchases," it's actually not entirely realistic. It's just like ads. To make some real money, you need a lot of downloads and a lot of users. Conversion rates for in-app purchases are in the low single digits for most games. So to realistically say I was going to make a lot of money in in-app purchases, you need many, many, many thousands or tens of thousands of downloads. So it is just one more monetization tool, but it's just like ads or charging for your app up front, or having a freemium strategy where there's a free version of the app and you encourage people to buy the paid version of the app for $1 or $2. All that hasn't changed, and all of that is available still to any Corona developer, just not in-app purchases if you're using Starter.
Okay. Okay. Now, you said we can do everything we could do with free today. So let's talk about Pro for a minute. So Pro, what features are going to be added to Pro coming up? I mean, it's not just going to be just free and Pro. What's Pro going to be?
Well, so Pro is it has those three things that Starter doesn't, for one.
Right.
The other things that we're adding over the next few months, some starting sooner than others, but we're bringing our whole plugin framework live pretty soon. And so we're going to have more and more plugins over time for Pro users, potentially some also for Starter users. So this is something I'll get to in a second. But yeah, so plugins will be available initially for Pro. Plugins they can be anything. It might be a plugin for a third-party service. It might be a plugin for an extra added functionality. It could be anything. Obviously, when we first come out with the plugin framework, there won't be a million plugins in there. It'll take time to build it up. But our vision is to have a very vibrant plugin marketplace where not just us or partners can sell or make plugins available, but also any developer can come and write a plugin and sell it potentially.
Okay.
So that's coming. That's one big thing. The other big thing that's coming is Walter's spoken about this briefly in I think in the blog and a video. We are putting a new OpenGL 2.0 graphics engine inside of Corona. Today it's based on OpenGL 1.0. We are working actively right now on OpenGL 2.0, and that means there's going to be a lot more graphical things you can do in Corona. Shaders and all these things that are frankly very complicated to me. So we're going to add all that, and that's going to take everything you can do Corona to another level. So those are a couple of things. There's also, Walter mentioned in the blog post, there's this device access thing which will let developers access things on device that we maybe have not exposed yet via Objective-C or Java. So it's not a full-blown enterprise license that you can call any native library, but it is a way of getting at device-specific things in a similar way. So all that is coming for Pro over the next few months. And so we do think that a few months from now, Pro is going to be able to do way more than it does today. People might ask, well, why didn't you raise the price then? Look, we're going to be adding this over the next few months. There's always a line at which you have to announce it or not announce it, and there's always someone that feels it wasn't the right time. But we're announcing it now. We're not changing the price till May 1st, and that's the way it is right now.
Okay. Oh, all right. So you just mentioned enterprise. So how does that change for enterprise? What?
Enterprise is the same product it was before.
Okay.
Enterprise is still $1,000 basically for small companies, indies that want to do this on their own. And we've had a lot of indies that have taken us up on it, and it's $2,500 per year for larger companies like studios and things like that. And we've also had a lot of studios and agencies that have taken us up on it. That doesn't change at all. Enterprise is unaffected by the announcements we made last week.
Okay. Okay. So is enterprise for studios then? I mean, who exactly is enterprise for? I think there's a little bit of confusion when people talk about enterprise.
We actually have, just like we have all types of developers using Corona SDK, normal Corona SDK, we have all types of developers using Corona Enterprise. I know for a fact we have a lot of sole developers, true indies using Enterprise. We have a lot of small studios using Enterprise. We have Electronic Arts using Enterprise. It runs the gamut, agencies, etc. So it is not a product that is meant for a specific type of customer. it is, in terms of size or what they do, it is meant for a developer that wants unlimited access to any native library.
Okay.
At that point, they can build whatever they want with Corona. They don't have to rely on either us exposing it, which we try, but there's so much going on we can't expose everything, or they don't have to rely on plugins made by others in the coming months. They can just do whatever they want.
Okay.
So that's what Enterprise is for.
Okay. So okay, I think that's a good explanation. So May 1st, you said the price changes. So explain how that works. I think there's a little.
Yeah. So we did a couple of things around pricing and to make it. To sort of, in a way, thank our existing customers. So we did a couple things. One is anyone that was an indie subscriber as of the day when we announced this last week is now a pro subscriber. They just got upgraded, right? There are guys that had just bought indie for $199, and the next day they were full pros, and that was a great deal for them. That's okay. So everyone that was indie got upgraded to pro. Everyone that was pro from before got 2 months added to their subscription. And we just did this arbitrarily because in a way to thank our customers. Now, everyone that is now a subscriber and everyone is now pro, because we just said all indies turned into pro, anyone that is a subscriber on April 30th will be able to renew twice more over the 2 coming years at the same price of $349. So if I'm a current subscriber and my subscription expires, let's say in November of this year, in November of this year, I can renew for $349, and then November of next year, I can renew again for $349. Even though the price is going to go up to $599 for Pro on May 1st. Any existing customer can buy in again at $349 for the next 2 years, as long as they don't let their subscription expire. That is the one condition. Okay. If I'm not a subscriber right now, I can still buy for $349 up until April 30th, and then they will be in the same boat. They will have 2 more renewals for $349. If you come in May 1st, that's when you will have to buy Pro for the new price of $599 starting then and going forward.
Okay. So the important point is to have a subscription of some sort
on April 30th.
On April 30th. Okay.
On April 30th, you have a subscription. You will have only paid $349, and you will have 2 more renewals at $349 over the next 2 years.
Okay. So let me ask this question, and I'm sure everybody's wondering, why increase the price?
There's a couple of reasons. One is, the main reason is we think Pro is worth it. We're a business and we have to make money. And one thing we've heard time and again, especially from the studios and bigger companies, $349 is a bit of a joke. It's actually not that much money. Now, this is for companies. I know there's a lot of indies. If I were buying it and I'm just doing apps on my own, $349 is a substantial amount of money. But for companies, it is not. And Pro really has a lot of value. And the way I think I've encouraged people to think about it in the past, if you think Corona, let's say your time is worth $50 an hour, which for developers is actually quite low. Let's say your time is worth $50 an hour. If you think you'll save 12 hours in a whole year with Corona, that's it. It was worth buying it, right? And we know that Corona saves people way more than 12 hours in a whole year. So we think Corona SDK Pro is worth it, especially as we add more things. That is the key reason. We are a business. We're trying to make money. Now, we didn't want to just arbitrarily say, hey, we're just raising prices, which is why we said, guess what? Corona SDK Starter is now free, and it does almost everything that the subscription does today with some restrictions. And now here, I think it's a good time to say, our mindset is not, hey, let's raise prices and take things away from indies or anything like that, as much as some people like to say that in our forums. Our mindset is we want to make as much available to indies and to Starter, the free tier, as possible. So it is very likely that over the next few months, as we add more things to Pro, we will take things down from Pro to Starter. If anything, the feature set in Starter will go up, will increase. Certainly not decrease, that would make no sense. But if anything, it'll increase over time, and we will add more things to Starter that lets people make more and more capable applications for free. And then when they want to move up to certain features, they will upgrade to Pro.
Okay. So does the indie subscription level exist at all anymore, or has it just been removed?
Indie disappeared. And to be very fair, this was a strong reaction in our forums and on the blog thread. These were the people that probably had a handful of people that were indies had the strongest reaction, and I understand why. So here's the deal. If you were a pure indie subscriber and you never wanted to pay us more than $200 a year for, who knows how long, yeah, your price and you want in-app purchases, right? You must have in-app purchases. Your price did go up to $349 because you're a customer now. You're a pro. You can renew for 2 more years for $349. So for now, your price went up to $349 from $200. It's $150 more a year. It's not an enormous amount, but it's significant, and we understand that. Now, most of the indies, and the reactions we've seen in the forum, the ones that have reached out to us, most of the indies are happy because if they're not using in-app purchases, they can drop down to starter, and guess what? They're paying a zero now. So actually, it's good. But there are some guys that were like, I'm an indie, I never wanted to pay you more than $200 a year, and I absolutely need in-app purchases. And if you're in that boat, your price did go up. And you know, there's not much we can do. We apologize. We didn't want to arbitrarily increase it on anyone. When you do something like this with many, many thousands of customers, you're bound to do something that not everyone likes. But we understand that. I think what I would say there to address it is we are and we will move more things down to starter over time, like I just said. It is our goal to make starter more and more capable as we make pro more and more capable. And again, you know, if it's $150 is the difference, we really do think the value is there. I mean, $150 is 3 hours worth of time, right?
Yeah.
If you think Corona is worth 3 hours of your time over a year, it's worth it. You
remember the movie You've Got Mail, and Tom Hanks is in the bookstore and he's looking at a book, and the clerk is explaining that the pages are hand tiffed and all this other stuff, and Tom Hanks says, "Is that why it costs so much?" And the clerk says, "No, that's why it's worth so much." Right, and so it's just a different in distinction, right? So that's interesting.
Right.
So now
we are biased, but we do think that Corona SDK does add a lot of value. You can do things really much more quickly than with most other platforms.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So why not keep Indie and just grandfather the people in at the $199 price? Was that something that would?
We did. We thought about that. Look, at some point, it's just about complexity and not wanting complexity. We need to keep things simple. We're not a huge team. We don't want to be a company that is juggling 10 different product lines and add-ons and all sorts of things. You know, once we bring in plugins, that'll add sufficient complexity. You're going to have all these plugins that you can you start using or buy or whatever. So having the core set of products be as simple as possible. Starter, which is free, Pro, and Enterprise was important to us. And if we threw in an indie tier there that people could be grandfathered in, but we didn't sell actively, honestly, it was just going to be a bit of a nightmare for everyone. And our team was just going to have more overhead, right? There's more bits to think about, more different SKUs and things on the server, on the desktop. We just didn't think it was a good call. We thought that for the benefit of everyone, to make us more efficient, it was just easier to just go with what we went through. And again, we acknowledge that you can't make everyone happy all the time. It is impossible. But we think most people thought it was a good idea.
Okay, so I noticed on the pricing page, that's all been updated and everything. So there's starter for Corona SDK, and then there's starter for cloud, which are both free tiers and all that stuff like that. So talk just for a moment about I don't know, I love and hate the word synergy. Talk about how those two things fit together.
Yeah, it's a good point. So actually, we're probably one of the only platforms out there where certainly one that's this capable, that you could develop an app that does almost anything. I mean, you know, we've seen a huge amount of really high-quality Corona apps, and they don't necessarily have in-app purchases. So it does almost anything and connects to the cloud with very capable cloud services, leaderboards, achievements, multiplayer even, etc., for free. You don't have to pay us a cent. Any Corona developer could use Starter and Starter Cloud tier and not pay us a cent, and they work great together. So that's fantastic. That's what we wanted. Now, why would we do this? Maybe someone asks, well, because we want you to be successful. And if you're successful and you get more and more users, guess what? You're going to want to need more cloud services, and then maybe you'll pay us for one of the tiers. Or maybe you'll want to do OpenGL 2.0 graphics, or you want to do in-app purchases right now, and so you'll want to upgrade to Pro. So our goal is we want to make all the indies that use Corona successful, and if they're successful, they'll make money, and if they'll make money, it's worth their time to buy in to the next tier or the next product, whatever it is, and then they pay us, and then we make money. That is our goal. So it's not our goal to, oh, we're going to squeeze everyone. If we wanted to squeeze everyone, we wouldn't be offering a free product and free tier. It's our goal to give them as many tools as possible, still making sense for a business, give them as many tools as possible, try to make them as successful as possible, because if that happens, the whole community benefits, and we benefit as a business.
We were talking about this just the other day on the Hangout, and the idea was never before in history could you come up with an idea, start a business, put it out there into the marketplace, potentially make money, and never leave your house.
And not just that, sell it to anyone in the world.
Right.
With a phone, right? With a phone. There's billions of people with a phone now, or smartphones, maybe 1 billion. There will be more soon. So do all you said and sell it to anyone in the world. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is really, truly amazing. So, okay, well, excellent. Thank you for answering all those questions and spending some time with us.
Thanks, Charles. And anyone that wants to give their opinion, the blog post itself is getting just way too many comments. It's hard to parse them. Okay. But in the forum, we have a thread. Just start your own thread if you want, and we're happy to discuss it and answer any questions.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, Charles.